This is Shelley Neese, managing editor of the Jerusalem Connection. This weekend, Israel Today reported that some New York Times editors and columnists invited an official from the Israeli consulate over for a meeting. The Israeli, who is plenty used to hostile press, reported that the meeting was a full-on lynching. That they brought him there to tell him that they were fed up with Israel obstructing the peace process, and thought that Israel had been mistreating President Obama. I mean, certainly this was no surprise, because the New York Times has never been a fan of Israel. But I would say that the New York Times in the last year has gone from just biased reporting against Israel to an all-out media attack. Particularly Thomas Friedman, the New York Times star columnist, has been directing insults at Netanyahu all year. Just 2 weeks ago, he wrote an article that was widely circulated, comparing Netanyahu to a spoiled child, saying he was addicted to American aid but unwilling to work for it, and that really when President Obama told Netanyahu to stop building settlements for 3 months, that Netanyahu should have said, "Yes, whatever you say, because you're our only best friend in the world." And the spoiled child comparison was actually a polite one compared to other things Thomas Friedman has said in the last few months. He said that Netanyahu is like a man who jumped out of an 80-story building and for the first 79 floors thought he was flying and then only realized once he hit the ground. He says that Israel is behaving like a drunk driver by continuing to build settlements, and that America shouldn't let our friends drive drunk. And I'm just wondering, how many times does a boss need to say no, to make outlandish demands, to refuse to come to the negotiation table, before Friedman compares him to a spoiled child or a drunk driver? I mean, certainly the New York Times is a little disconnected from American mainstream, but Thomas Friedman proved that in an interview with the Israeli media. He said that Americans are fed up with Israel. But in fact, all polls show to the contrary, that American support for Israel has never been higher. In response to Friedman's interview, supposedly Netanyahu said, "We may have lost Thomas Friedman, but we haven't lost America." And that is so true. Have a good day.